look like.
Maybe we'll get some quirky zoom cuts in this too. You know, it's like, you don't want quirky zoom cuts?
No, it's your product, mate. Do whatever you want with it, you know?
What would you do if you were editing this?
I'm not the editing type, but there probably would be some.
We're going to lean in, look at camera, where the council's discussing.
The hands.
Where are the hands? They're kind of like crossed or like this. I think it's fine, but if it's like this, everyone's going to get it. So then we're going to look at this for like 3 seconds. It's not that good of an opening, honestly.
Take two.
No, we'll take one. It's only one take. One take. Don't know what this product's going to be called. I'm not going to lie. I don't know what this product's going to be called, but currently it's the Unnamed Duo Podcast with Albert.
We don't have a title yet.
We don't have a title. Untitled Podcast.
I mean, that has a ring to it, to be honest.
The Untitled Podcast?
The Unnamed Duo Podcast with Albert.
It's possibly so. So either way, we don't know what the product of this is going to be. We're going to figure it out probably later as it comes on. But our first episode, supposed to be Brad from Atlanta, but we'll get into that later. But instead, we got second best. We got Unter. We got Unter from Glass. Yeah, the protege. A little bit of a protege. How are you today?
Brad's protege. Oh, I'm spectacular. Nothing feels better than coming like 8th, 7th in the Overwatch League. Whatever.
Is that what you finished?
That's what we finished. We finished.
You finished.
We finished.
You finished 8th.
We finished the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're in the same tier.
At the same time.
We're 7-8.
7-8. And the jury's still out on who was better between the Mayhem and the...
Yeah, we'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never find out.
Yeah. That's actually kind of crazy. I mean, people were putting you about the same in the power rankings preseason, so...
Yeah, no. Just two top
I think
dog
budget
teams.
spend,
Right?
like, we were about the same.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, both of the franchises... I mean, I know they put a lot of money to acquire you, is what I was told.
I mean, I had a huge buyout.
I've seen your Ferrari out in the parking lot.
Is this just an Australian coach curse?
Maybe.
Coming 7-8?
It could be.
All the Australian coaches finished the same.
I mean, it worked out last year for us. We had an Australian coach and we didn't come 7-8, so...
Well, now we know. OC is like mega fucking curse. Well, then let's all talk curse shit, because I was talking with Reiner beforehand about how the meta was so great for playoffs, and how he told me he doesn't find solutions to the meta when I asked him for his way to solve this. He says, I only identify problems. That's all I do. I only identify problems. I find no solution. So let's go playoffs then. So as we just discussed, you finished 8th. Mayhem finished 8th.
We did.
So both parties here finished 8th here in that case. And so now we're kind of done. We're reflecting a bit. First of all, let's discuss the obvious elephant in the room here. Meta shift before playoffs. Do you feel like, and this is you've been GM for quite some time, Albert. A fraud though. You are a fraud GM.
Yeah.
You're still a fraud GM.
Coach, fraud GM. We got it all.
We all have it all.
Your tryout process was just completely unfair.
No.
Coach selection, assistant coach selection, it was all just...
It was all fucked up.
Start to finish.
Yeah.
But that's because you knew ahead of time that the meta was going to be fraudulent. So what about the meta shifting where we had what was it, 5 days?
Yeah,
before playoffs?
I think honestly we had a little bit more than 5 days because we were a playoffs team. But the play-ins teams, they had what
was it?
5 days.
What was it for you?
We had 3 days, and then 4 days if you count the one PPA day we had before matches. So 4 days.
Gotta count that.
4 days to practice total.
4 days to practice, and you're what, like 7, 8?
We had a little more, but people were practicing on like a workshop patch, and some of the changes went through.
Playoffs teams started during the stage because they're like, okay, well if we're locked in, like what is the, what's the point, right?
What's the point?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But then what? And so then in relation to that, so that's a really small fucking window. By the way, we're allowed to curse here.
Incredible.
We're allowed to curse. We're already drinking, so we've already we're breaking all the rules in relation to content so far. We're breaking all the rules. Next up, crypto sponsor. No, I'm kidding.
How are you gonna monetize this podcast, really?
We're gonna get gambling. We're gonna get alcohol, and then we'll see what other taboo vices.
We got some brands on the table already.
Yeah, we do. But while facing them backwards, so they can't see them. Turn it all backwards. Don't let them see that.
Don't let them drink it this way.
Just cover it with your hand.
Cover it with your hand, maybe. Right. Don't let it go. Perfect. So we've been doing this now for is this our 5th year of the league or 4th? How does time work? 5?
This is season 5.
This is season 5. So 5th year. The meta has shifted drastically every fucking playoffs. Literally every year, just about. Because season 1, that's what caused London to win. Justice had their fucking incredible hog run. Though guys, there was other bullshit involved with that. And now we have this fraudulent meta. Your opinion, both, since you feel, because also you have some experience with that. Why the fuck do we keep shifting the meta like a week before? And do you think it changes next year, or is this just kind of like a Mickey Mouse year again because we're like on the Overwatch 2 beta shit? So we'll start with you, beautiful, huh? We'll just run an open discussion about this.
Honestly, I don't really mind a meta shift for playoffs because I think like every patch is kind of just like a gamble for every team on whether they're going to be good or not. Whether their players suit the patch. But doing it like 5 days or like maybe even less than 5 days before the playoffs, like they might be cutting it a bit fine at that point. Like the hog patch where Shock managed to sneak out a win, like that was reasonable. There was practice time in that for all the teams. This time around, there just wasn't that for especially for the playing teams, which feels a little unfair, at least for them.
But isn't that supposed to be like the disadvantage of play-ins, right? Kind of.
You don't want that much of a disadvantage. That's just ridiculous. The disadvantage should be that you have to get in through play-ins, not that
Not that you
get 5 days of practice. Yeah. But I don't know. I think like the patch schedule is just way too close to the playoffs for sure because nobody got to flesh out anything. Nobody could find a counter to the one comp. You know, you look at how much people are playing the current comp that's running through playoffs, and it's like, maybe like 1% of teams are picking Tracer for like one map. And other than that, it's just a mirror absolutely everywhere. And maybe that wouldn't be the case if people had like a month to play the patch. Okay. Or Kiriko is just completely turbo busted and the patch is really badly balanced and it would be the same for a month.
Was it like, did they tell like, from like a GM perspective and coach perspective, did they tell ahead of time that they were like, hey, we're doing live patch? Or is this just like, oh, by the way, get fucked idiots?
We had a fair bit of notice with it, like knowing that there was going to be a patch for playoffs. And then they gave all the teams like vague patch notes that were like half correct, half wrong. Because like they were just missing random changes, but yeah, they gave like patch.
Why do they do? They've been doing this for fucking 5 years now, where they just don't put all the patch notes in the patch notes.
Yeah, I think that Team 4, they play fast and loose with patching. They talk about like a balanced department, but I'm pretty sure it's just like a balanced guy like throwing.
I used to yell about that in the OW back when Bare Hands was still part of Blizzard. I used to yell at Bare Hands about that shit still, but like, where are the patch notes? Like, where are they? You're missing like the text, the sacred text. They are incomplete.
Yeah, well, they come out with patch notes a few days after the patch. They're missing half of the things that were changed. It's a good system. I like it.
You just find nuggets. You find nuggets of changes. You're just like, oh, this is a nice change. Like, oh, Doomfist nerfed again. Like, that's great.
Yeah, they completely reworked how Doomfist shift works 3 times over, but you never see that in the patch notes.
You can let them in. They're going to get their. This is a casual podcast, by the way. There's someone come get a VIP tickets from Albert, so we'll get that from them off camera. Since we're recording, so you're gonna have to sit there. They're coming to get the VIP tickets for. Since this is being recorded on the final day.
That's a long way.
I don't have the VIP tickets.
What do you mean you don't have them?
I never went to the venue yesterday.
This is not a topic for the podcast. We're gonna move past this. Just let us know we're recording this on the final day of playoffs, so this. I hope you guys understand this is our time capsule. So okay. So we'll come back to that later. Okay. It's not important. We're content pilled right now. Yeah. Okay? It's like being orange pilled. Right. That's when you introduce your company to Bitcoin. I learned that. I saw someone apply their resume to Misfits was like, I orange pilled my company.
Oh, great.
And then they introduced them to Bitcoin.
And then they lost a lot of money on that.
Well, we were like, maybe this guy isn't for us.
Yeah. Will I have the opportunity to like plug a shit coin at the end of this content?
You will. You'll be able to plug whatever coin you want. Gator actually specifically sent me a pitch I have to plug at the end.
Right.
But I get a kickback. And then we rug pull. And then we're going to rug pull at the end of it. So that's going to be good. Okay, so then you find play-ins a little too punishing with how they did it this year.
Yeah, for them.
Meta a little too crazy. But probably, they don't keep that next year, right? Like, it probably changes.
Oh, this meta's going to change immediately.
No, but more so like the way they intro stuff. They're probably going to change. Like, it won't be as crazy next year, surely, right? Because we were on the fucking alpha build of Overwatch 2 all year. And surely, like, next year, they won't do that? Right?
I mean, it's hard to know, because, like, they say they're going to patch more, and then they, like, load into the fucking new season, and there's, like, weeks of heroes being really, really broken, and everyone hating them, and they just don't patch for ages. They're like, oh, yeah, in a few weeks we're going to adjust it. Then they don't change Sojourn, because, like, they want everyone playing Sojourn, or they say, like, in the middle rank, Sojourn isn't broken, so it doesn't matter that the entire top 500 DPS board is most played Sojourn.
So do you think that's an issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's an issue they're not balancing around the top 500?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, as like a, maybe rank 100 Lucius player that just throws every game. I hate Sojourn. I really hate Sojourn, because it's just like a server admin hero, just gets to one-shot someone.
What's your so I've seen like a shit ton of solutions, like ranging from hold the rail charge longer or shorter, like you can't hold the charge as long.
Yep.
You can't like shoot as fast while you're dueling, like left click, and even like various stuff like you can't headshot with the ult. Like what do you think? What's the solution to this great disaster?
I mean, honestly, I think if they like buffed the left click in some way and just made the rail not a headshot anymore, I feel like that would be way closer to being fair. Just because getting one-shotted across the map, like, I don't like the fact that the hero can do what Widow does and do what Hanzo does without like any penalty. Like, Widow has to stand still to one-shot you.
Yeah.
Hanzo has to like move slowly and shoot a projectile to one-shot you. Sojourn can fly through the fucking air like a psychopath and just one-shot you with no penalty whatsoever. So I'd really like to see Rail not be a one-shot, but I don't know. I feel like there's a million things they could do to nerf her. They just do none of them because.
Well, that's fine because they made the run at least. They made the run at least with Hydra and Sojourn. So now we can nerf it.
I think that my favorite one I think you can only headshot with the rail if you're ulting. I think that's I like to see that and see if we can, because I think the biggest part is like you don't need ult to insta someone. I think that's a big problem.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen the matches now? Like, now that everyone remaining in the tournament is pretty, like, good at the neutral fights, like, no one's making these game-losing mistakes, every single fight is just determined by, like, oh, which Sojin got the one-shot first?
Right.
Every single fight starts with the Sojin pick.
They always have chances. Like, you can't, like, there's always, it just, if the Sojin hits a shot, like, you're screwed, or else you're just hiding behind. The only way you can avoid a Sojin is if you literally just hide behind walls.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
forever. And you
right now, like, if the Winston doesn't feed to the Reaper, then...
Yeah.
All that happens, like the game deciding factor every single time is, did the Sojin hit the headshot first? It's dog shit.
So one-shots are bad?
Yeah, I mean, everyone hates getting
Everyone hates one-shots?
Yeah. I mean, people cry about Widowmaker, and that hero sucks. Like,
fair enough. So we're on team...
I'm for one-shots, but, like, the way that the Sojin can get their one-shots is, like, much different than the way, like, a Widow can get the one-shots.
Yeah. Why is that? Like, just because, like, she's, like... Are you saying more so because of, like, the neutral fight with her? Like, how much able she's to do during that fight? Versus, like, Widow, she's, like, stuck in a position with the grapple for a time, or what?
Yeah, I think the Widow has a grapple and she can get out. But, like, I think the slide is infinitely, like, better and, like, more utility for a variety.
It's like a Vast cooldown and it's better.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So then, we've gone so far from the playoffs. We'll go into more positive. We've gone so far from the playoffs so that the meta shift wasn't great.
No, not
They didn't fix that shit. Sojin a little strong, and balancing around Jimmy John 28 in silver is rough. Is a rough point to do.
Yeah, no, I despise that. I really hate how the devs, like, they use the reasoning that someone in, like, gold or whatever is having trouble on the hero, like it's not broken in a low rank, so it should be fine in the high ranks. But, like, they've done it with Kiriko as well, where they've given Kiriko like a 3 times headshot multiplier and made her shots really hard to hit. So even though, like, honestly, like, the primary fire, like, that's not the broken part of her kit.
Yeah.
But even if they do, like, rebalance the ult, that's still going to be something where she's going to suck in low ranks because no one hits headshots, and then you're going to get to a certain threshold of aim, and then she's going to feel broken in someone's hands because of how it scales, you know? Like, giving someone a 3 times multiplier or giving them a one-shot where if you hit a headshot, you just immediately delete someone from the game. I think all of these things are, like, inherently a bit unhealthy, just because it means it's impossible to balance for both the top and the middle at the same time.
You only choose one.
Yeah. And they just choose the middle all the time, because, yeah.
Well, it'd be like that. It really, I mean, the thing is, I feel like that's been an issue for a long time, but, like, honestly, we can't go into the wider discussion of the balance of Blizzard here because we have a lot of topics to hit. We got to keep focused here, and it's going to be tough to be focused because technically, part of the hook here is that any question that you don't want to answer, or even Albert, theoretically, though technically you're kind of my co-host, but I don't know, we were still figuring out the roles here. It's kind of like a polyamorous, like, thing we're figuring out right now. It's like we're all figuring out our roles in this.
This is our first open relationship.
Yeah, we're all figuring out our roles.
We're working through the kinks.
And literally,
I don't understand
in a way.
This.
So we're, but the point being is that any question you don't answer, you're gonna drink too. So that's kind of we're kind of just adding alcohol to the equation, and we're gonna see if that improves anything in terms of the general Overwatch content drought. You know.
So you know, you're trying to boost the quality of this.
We're trying to boost the quality of this podcast. Well, it's the first time, so we don't know if there is any quality. So we're actually figuring that out.
It seems spectacularly low. Just
so far, yes. So far, we're trying to keep it a very relaxed life. So let's move on then. Playoffs.
Moving on.
Meta, fucked. Remaining teams here in the playoffs as we look forward.
Oh.
Who do we have left at this point? We've got Houston, Shock, Fuel. Houston, Shock, Fuel.
Oh.
The 2 Texas teams and...
Was this inevitable?
No.
Was this inevitable?
No.
Did they know? Marvel meme, yellow meme text?
I just can't believe Houston are top 3. I just can't.
What do you mean? Dante Tank is kind of banger.
Houston showed up to every event all year long and were just Mickey Mouse every single time. Like that.
Well, what changed?
They finally got it. You know, they got a patch where
the honeymoon period with the Dante Winston.
No, they got everything they wanted. They got a new hero where someone can learn that quickly and get a little bit ahead. They got Pelican on Reaper instead of needing to play Tracer. I mean, Merit's always on Sojin. That doesn't matter. Like every meta Merit's on Sojin. But like they got Pelican on Reaper. They got a patch that was really good for them. They got something where both of their DPS can absolutely pound, and they can get a new support hero that someone can learn, and they can get a bit ahead on. Like I'm not trying to say Outlaws is a bad team, but their results throughout the year, like top 3, that does make me. That brings me.
But they've had a really good. Haven't they been like consistently top 5 in North America though?
Wow, top 5 in North America.
I mean,
top 3 in the world. Like, come on.
Come on. Well, I mean, but that's comparative to APAC. And APAC, I mean,
did you see the run that Spark were making? They were running it down.
Well, okay, everyone. Spark is the most APAC. That literally is the most Mickey Mouse thing yet because Spark, they were doo-doo.
Yeah.
Meta shifted, and then it's back to a literal joke, and then it's like, oh wait, Shy gets to play Sojin again.
The chain group is simply too strong.
Yeah, and also
he knows something we do not.
Yeah, I would like to know. I would like to know how he does it. How does he do it?
I don't know if he does anything, honestly.
What do you mean?
I think he decided
to pick up Teru So you pick up the failed flex DPS from Vancouver Titans last year. You pick up a guy that I think he won 1 match in an entire season.
Yeah.
A flex DPS. You put him on flex support, naturally, as you do. And then he happens to be insane at this new flex support hero. Like, who has vision for that? How do you plan for that?
Only Changun. I mean, maybe it was overlooked, right? It's kind of like the London situation because they ended up going out. What ended up going out? Top 4 or 5? London, yeah.
They were 5th, 6th.
5th, 6th?
Oh, because Spark.
So yeah, maybe a little. So it's kind of like maybe a little overlooked, right? Do you think like when we look at Terror's career and then we compare it to London's turnaround from last year to this year?
I'm not buying this. Terror was a sleeper.
Well, it's not. It's more so. It's a general. This is a larger conversation of, in Overwatch we have. I feel like there was a rookie like bias in a way almost where like we get rid of veteran players fast. Like we recycle them because we're like, oh shit, new player just dropped.
Yeah.
You know, and we bring them up. And like as someone that's experienced building rosters for both of you, I feel like that's kind of the situation we have with London, right? Where like they were terrible last year. Like by all metrics, they honestly probably should have recycled the whole team for the most part. Like when you look at like, their pure performances in the
Based
server.
on the results, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
But they kept it together for the most part, made some changes, and now they've had like an incredible year, even when like they couldn't even play the meta like half the time.
I think that team last year, like they honestly could have performed significantly better. Like if they weren't all playing on like 150 to 200 ping for half of their matches,
that is too.
like that's just like immediately mentally crushing, I think.
Yeah.
And then I think like their coaching staff last year, like significantly weaker than what they had with Christopher this year. Like Christopher's made that team a family, you know? Like they have structure and everyone loves each other.
Hype.
Yeah, no, it's truly like a Fast and Furious.
I mean, he got Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
Over this guy. You could believe it.
Over every guy.
I was a front runner.
Yeah, you were. I was told you were front runner.
Yeah.
So you think Christopher is the big difference?
I don't think an assistant coach is ever going to win the Coach of the Year.
You don't think Jake's going to?
How?
You don't think Jake's going to after?
No, I just think if you look at like the narrative and everything, it's really hard for assistant coach to really stand out in front of like the head coach because you're like you usually just it's easy to attribute like not that assistant coaches don't do anything, they do a lot, but like it's really hard to look at a team and be like, oh, the assistant coach is the one doing all the work, actually.
I mean, I think Coach of the Year awards are really fucking stupid, to be honest. I think...
There you go.
Yeah.
Why are you pissed? Why are you pissed with Coach of the Year?
I think
because he didn't get it?
Yeah.
No. Just because you don't know what a coach does inside a team, you know? It's like if I were to win Coach of the Year for some reason, like nobody would know why. Nobody knows what any coach does within a team. Like Christopher has a good reputation within the league, but at the end of the day, nobody really knows like how much is a team like player run.
Right.
I'm not trying to shit on Chris here.
Right.
I think he was
besides London, obviously.
Yeah.
Only the team that you're coaching really knows what you do day in day out.
Exactly. I think it's like the biggest Mickey Mouse award ever. Like Rosh is getting votes, but like, and I mean, I love Rosh. I feel like that guy. Like, there's no way that he's not doing something right.
Yeah.
Because every time he gets a new roster, he gets new players every year, and they always feel like the same team. Like they're just this incredible. Like they're on the same page. They all sleep in the same bed every night or something. But yeah, like
that didn't work well for Valiant though.
No, but they didn't have Rosh.
It's a different bed. Okay.
Yeah, different bed for sure.
You know about this year Valiant? Or which year Valiant?
Yeah.
This year Valiant.
Well,
this year Valiant.
2 years of useless Valiant, probably.
2 years of useless Valiant, in a way. So that's kind of the London. So when we reflect from like going to like we look at the results here, like Houston's turnaround. Do you feel like that also reflects with Houston's kind of turnaround from previous year to this year, and London's turnaround? Is that is it a coaching staff differential?
I mean, the coaching staff for Houston stayed the same, right?
What was
there? Jake and Junkbuck last year. Jake and Junkbuck this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't think there's like any coaching difference for Houston. I think like Houston were basically like in the same tier all year long, and then like Junker Queen they were a little better because like I think Dante was like a pretty exceptional Junker Queen, and Pelican got to play Genji for like the whole stage, which is like one of his best heroes. And then again, like here in this stage 4, like you get to have Pelican on Reaper, like creative, like they traded creative and Iris, and then that turned out pretty well for them. But yeah, like I think like coaching impact, Gumper thinks that coaching impact is really really high. Yeah.
I think his words were in the Yiska interview. He said 20 to 30% is what he thinks is
20% of like what?
Of overall, like if you view like it's 100% right. Like it's 70 to 80% player.
And then 30% coach.
And then the 20 to 30% coach.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you got to believe the coaches can have a high impact when you see a team like London,
Yeah.
And everyone is like absolutely swearing by Christopher, saying like he's just the best. But yeah, I don't know. I think like a team like Houston, like if their coaches were the same for the past 2 years, like how much of their success right now is coaching impact compared to the meta panning out in their favor?
Or just looking out that Dante can play Winston and they can win with him on Winston.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's lucking out though. Like that's definitely something good. Like on Dante,
Yeah.
He's like a grinder, and he's done this with multiple heroes.
But I'm saying, I don't think Houston built their roster being like, okay, well, if we have to play Winston, like Dante can play Winston. Like, no way.
They built their roster intending for Piggy to do that. Instead they cut him.
Yeah. They got Piggy, and then they got Doge, and then they're like, okay, wait. Let's just have Dante play Winston.
Oh yeah, that's another thing actually for like, I don't want to say an indictment on Houston coaches, but I feel like they have like a little bit of a history at this point of just like picking up random players to fucking throw them on the bench immediately. It's like, what are they doing signing Doge and Lep?
Yeah.
Just to bench them, I thought Lep would, probably be like a competitive Lucio. Yeah. Or a better Lucio than Lastro, to be honest.
Really? I thought Lastro was doing great on Lucio.
Lastro has a knack for dying, so I don't know about that. But honestly, like, I think Lep didn't play very well at the Junker Twin LAN. I didn't watch it because I was too miserable after getting knocked out 2-4 in the stage. But yeah, I just think it's very strange how Houston, they pick up these players and they just do nothing with them. Like, what was the point of picking them up in the first place? I feel like Doge, especially, was just the most wild card pickup of all time.
I think it was a desperation thing. I think they were just like, we need to do something, and we're gonna shake the tree a little, and then.
And they must have had such low faith in Dante to do that. You go into a meta where there's like a new tank, so anyone can learn it. You don't have to be a tank player. Yeah. And it's like clearly really mechanically intensive. Yeah. And they're like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna pick up a main tank from Europe who has to play on ping. He's the guy for this hero. It's very odd. I don't know who makes that decision.
Well, is that so? So you think there's an issue? Do you feel like that's an issue with Houston alone, or is that something we've seen from a lot of teams where they're picking up players and kind of like, we didn't need this player, so we're gonna let them rot? And also, on top of that, you talk about the Dante point, but like, okay, he could learn to do tank, right? It doesn't have to be Doge.
Yeah.
But couldn't you have made theoretically at points? Now this is also a question. This is the first question where you can choose to drink versus answering. Couldn't you have made that same point for like your reliance on Reiner this year? Or do you feel like? Are you
saying like we should have picked up another tank?
I'm just saying. Well, I mean, you had another tank on the bench, a world-class one.
A world-class one, yeah.
A world-class space. Yeah. So, like, what's the difference between Dante Doge situation versus the Reiner Space situation?
I guess, like, with Space, he had, like, a pretty defined role within the team, It's like, we knew what we wanted him to do. We wanted him to play Sigma. At the start, we wanted him to play Diva. But then, like, we knew that Indy wasn't, like, the most flexible player out there. Like, if he's not swapping between, like, his main off-tank heroes, probably going to be, like, a problem. I think maybe, like, throughout the year, there was, like, a mistake made there where we didn't, like, try to develop his main tank heroes very much. And then, like, part of that is on him too, in terms of, like, how much, like, he wants to develop the main tank heroes. Like, if you see someone, like, playing 500 games of ranked a season, trying to, like, grind up a new hero, it's like, that's faith for them, You want to put them in more. But, if someone's, like, comfortable with the role that you give them in the team, then, you just let them have that role, Like, you can be the off-tank guy.
So you don't think you're going to try to, like, you think it's, like, it's almost not worth to try to push a player to, like, develop them in a certain way? If they're, like, settling into a role?
I certainly think that you should do that. That's why I say it's probably a mistake.
You can nudge them, but
it's like it's our job to push them in that direction, right? Okay. So it's probably a mistake that we didn't do that, just, in case. Mm-hmm. But I'm not saying that, like, at the end of the season, Reiner was, like, a fucking massive problem or anything like that, or that Indy would have been better. Just, it probably would have been good to have Indy, like, being more flexible, so then we'd have more options. Like, you saw in the Junker Queen meta, like, we changed Junker Queens after we were 0-4. And then our team, like, we really, like, significantly improved, I think. Like, Indy just had, like, a better feel for that meta. He was better with the team play elements of it.
Well, then let's talk then. So we kind of hit on, some of the teams that we saw here in the meta. We hit on top 3 a little bit, like, was it inevitable? Marvel meme text, blah, blah, blah. So looking forward, speaking of understanding meta, so we have our top 3 teams, obviously. We've discussed Houston pretty at length. So we have Spark and then Fuel after that. But also, let's just talk APAC, like, in general, from, like, a coaching and, like, building roster perspective, right? Because I've heard you say this before, Albert, that, like, why... everyone was coming in saying, like, oh, dude, APAC is booty. Like, honestly. Like, everyone was like, APAC is not good coming in here. And I feel like I've heard people talk about, like, have they been brain drained, like, coaches, like, player-wise? Like, do you feel like... And we'll start from, like, a GM and, like, roster building perspective and from, like, a coaching perspective, like Chris Partner. So let's go from a GM perspective. Was that true? Did APAC, did they literally, like, were they all fleeing for, like, paychecks or something? Like, why did APAC feel so weak comparatively from, like, a roster building perspective?
I think it's just the number of teams in the region. Definitely, I think that's the biggest impact. Like, when you have less teams, you have less diverse, you have less, coaches, less players in the region, and less variety in what you play, right? And I think I talked to a few APAC teams. They're like, yeah, like, even if we want to do 3 blocks, we couldn't, because there weren't enough AL teams in that region to do a 3 block, consistently. If you're especially, like, one of the, like, the lower teams, like, if you're a low ranked team in NA, you can do 3 block days with the AL teams if you want. That's, like, feasible. But if you're not like a Shanghai or Seoul, like, it's probably very hard to find, like, 3 block days consistently.
You told me No Hill's not getting 3 blocks on the daily?
Not with AL teams. Not with AL teams.
3 blocks with, like, a Chinese contenders team or something. That's about as good as it gets for him.
So I think that's, like, the biggest problem. Also, I think a lot of the best coaches, like top Korean coaches or APAC coaches, eventually come to NA. I think think they probably get paid a little bit more, and the benefits are probably better, and like it's, you know, I think that's like a big reason as well. So quality of coaches and lack of teams in the region, I think, is like the biggest factors to them being weaker as a whole.
Would you echo that? Would you think that like all those factors mean that APAC that, or is it just like, oh, APAC like stylistically from like previous metas?
No, I mean,
they're all going to be predetermined.
I think that like stylistically, like sometimes APAC was right. I think like in mid-season madness, like APAC was pretty on the money in terms of like their meta read. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like the talent pool is too low over there. There's not enough teams in APAC to support like more and more growth and good practice. And I think like also in APAC, like for whatever reason, like there's no particular reason for this. It's just how it's happened with roster construction. The supports are just shit in APAC.
Really? You think comparatively? You think like even like are you talking about like across the board or just like they're too concentrated?
There's just way more support talent in NA. I feel, you know, there's like you look at like all the MVP candidates and it's like how many MVP or like Role Star candidates? Not MVP, sorry, because those all went to proper. But how many Role Star candidates were from the APAC region this year for support? There's just like I think there's just like a lower concentration of talent in the APAC support.
Couldn't you argue that's kind of like a bias of like NA viewing?
No.
Potentially? No?
Like
don't think so?
I'm certain that the supports are worse in APAC.
Really?
You've been watching these games, mate?
I mean personally.
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
sure. I'll give you dragons. But
Lee Jagon is literally trying to lose.
I'll give you dragons, but I still now. But I think it's just because I'm an Era simp, and also like I think Vindame.
You think I'm not an Era simp?
From NA.
True. But what about Vindame? I think Vindame had a
he's probably the best support over there at the moment. He's probably like the highest performing support throughout the year. He's done really well all year long. But beyond that, you know, it's like Izuyaki's had a quiet year, Jagon's had a quiet year. I don't know, like you can't say Iris is like an MVP candidate this year. Like,
no, sure, but it's more so like in that Role Star potential category.
Yeah,
you know?
and I just don't think that like. I mean, there are like no Role Star candidates. Like you're gonna say Super Rich? Is he in the running? Just because you drink out of a little cup.
He's still in the tournament.
Our boy Taro should be in the running.
Yeah, Taro maybe.
Wait, still in the tournament? Didn't they get knocked out yesterday, mate?
They got further. That's what I'm saying. They got further. Is what I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I think that like the support talent level is definitely higher in NA this year. There's just like you have like better main supports, better flex supports.
And that's just because of the fact that there's just more organizations pushing that forward. There's
probably like more money in NA.
More money?
Yeah.
More money.
There's some fucking crazy DPS talent in APAC. Like really. I think APAC probably has like not the best players because you know like NA has like your Proppers and your Kevsters, but APAC like across the board has fucking crazy DPS lines. Like the fact that Shy and Lip are both like not even touching finals right now is insane to me. Because Shy was just...
I mean, Lip was number one in, like, every category.
I mean, you scrim Shanghai, you watch matches versus Shanghai, and, you know, Lip is just John Sojourn. He's literally 1v5. He's John Sojourn, like 1v5. Like, every single fight is 3 Lip picks, and then Jagon just... I'm gone.
Do you feel like for Overwatch 2, when we looked at, like, overall throughout, as, like, kind of like this playoffs, as we get towards the end of playoffs, has that going to 5v5 kind of forced it to where DPS are now considerably, ostensibly, like, they are the most important role.
Agreed.
In Overwatch 2. Like, 100% now at this point. But even though, like, even with that, like, Shanghai wasn't able to win. So that shows the dearth of that, like, APAC talent level, potentially?
I don't know. I think that, like, Shanghai being unable to win, like, it's probably just more an indictment on the other 4 people than it is about, like, roles overall. Because I think, like, Lip was undoubtedly carrying harder than anyone else has in this tournament. Proper had a pretty fucking insane performance yesterday versus Spark, so you know he's probably in the running at this point too. But like DPS definitely have the highest agency of any role by like a huge margin.
Do you think so too? Do you think so? Like when you were building rosters this year, like you know, and like you were building your bottom 4 roster in North America.
Yeah.
And you were checking that out. And you're like,
we spent the bulk of our money on DPS.
DPS.
Sure. We had 3 DPS players and like, or you know, at times we had more, but like we spent the bulk of our money, like, it was definitely weighted more heavily in the DPS area than anything else.
You didn't spend big on Adam?
No, we did not spend big on that.
We spent big on the farewell post.
Yeah.
We spent big on the farewell post.
Yeah.
No,
it's a masterclass in social media management.
This is a moment where we'll all take a step and move past that question as we go forward. But okay, so DPS definitely then, like across the board, the salary package changes that. We've identified APAC, low scrim partners, not enough money, brain drained.
Well, also back on like...
I don't really think brain drain is
I think it's really hard to repeat, back to Shanghai, like I think it's really hard to repeat without significant changes. Like I think keeping the same roster and being like, okay, the roster that was the best this year is gonna be the best next year is like, I feel like that rarely happens.
Yeah.
Like it's really, especially when we switched games. Like, you went from 6v6, you won a 6v6, and then you went to 5v5. Like, it's complete. Like, a lot of things are very, very different. And I think Shanghai just didn't make enough changes to. I mean, it's hard to make changes, right? You win a championship, you want to be like, okay, we're getting the band back together. Like, we give them one more shot. But like, to actually win, I think they had to have made like more changes.
So once again, that's kind of like that. That's not necessarily an indictment you're saying on like their veteran talent. More so, they just needed some maybe fresher blood in certain roles.
Right. I think they needed.
Alternatives.
Yeah. I think it's really hard to repeat with the same core, and especially when you switch games, which we did.
Okay, fair enough. So then, final playoffs related question then, as we've discussed like APAC, like some of the teams we've looked at so far. Our final 3 teams, we talked a bit about Houston. And that leaves us Shock and Fuel. Like, what, if you're looking at this now currently, we haven't seen the matches yet. The matches haven't started. We're doing this pre-matches right now.
Pre-match.
Yeah.
Pre-match. We were supposed to be in a hot tub also, by the way, but we learned that there's like a youth camp like here, and we're not allowed to drink in the hot tub. So I feel like if we're all, like, it's also, there's nothing inherently wrong with us being in the hot tub, but like more so like when we're drinking, we're not allowed to, you know, so we moved into this situation. That's irrelevant information, but I just want to throw it out there. Now, maybe in the future we'll do the hot tub. You look at these 3 teams remaining, and like Shock Fuel specifically, like, because to me, I feel like Shock Fuel are more favorites than Houston to win it all.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you were to pick one, who would it be? If you were to pick of the 3, but probably Shock Fuel, right?
Fuel, for
Is
sure.
it the Hive Man?
I mean, like 3 weeks ago now, maybe. Like, I think that's when like the patch, like the preliminary patch notes came out. Fuel started playing Winston Reaper. You know, they started playing Winston Reaper Sojourn, and like 3 days into that patch. Everyone I'm talking to, like everyone's coming to the same conclusion. It's like, you know, not to sound too pessimistic, but you know, it's like it's Fuel's league, and we're all just playing in it. We're all playing in it for second, you know, because like they were so good at this from the start. They were really exceptional at this from the start. Like every team is going so close in scrims, and then there's Dallas Fuel just destroying everyone, every single scrim. You know, like trying to bridge that gap and like catch up to what they're doing when like this is basically like a perfect meta for them in terms of like player skill on like the meta heroes. Like it's really exceptional for them. You know, people meme about like Sparkle being a D tier tracer, and like at the end of the day, it's true that he's not one of the.
I feel like that's a little unfair. He wasn't D tier.
He's not D tier. He's not D tier. But the essence behind it is true in that like he's not a top tracer. You know, like he's not going to win the tracer duel with Kevster or Proper, and then bang, they put him on Reaper. Like, you know, if there's a weak link, it was him on Tracer, and then bang, he's on Reaper. And now they just have this perfect meta for them, where everyone gets to play borderline their one trick.
Is it true that, like, whenever, like, recently for, like, any meta that was Lucio, essentially everyone just copied Fuel throughout the whole year, pretty much?
I don't think that's entirely true, because, I mean, we didn't spend much of the year copying Fuel. We spent a lot of the year countering Fuel.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at, like, stage 1, stage 2, it's like, whatever Fuel was doing, we're like, we're not going to play that. Like, they're just playing their one tricks, you know? Harmon's on Zarya, moving his hand, like, boom, 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 on the mouse pad. And
is this like is he has a really
he's an insanely
he
low
plays
sense.
1.5 800. I don't know.
Jeez, I mean that's pretty low.
It's like hilariously low. It's
okay.
like, yeah, I mean that dude's doing like more than 100 centimeters for a 360. Like it's ridiculous.
Dude, you just dropped metric on me. I mean, we're in America, buddy. We're in America.
I don't have the freedom.
1.5 800. That's all I need to know to visualize.
Yeah, I can understand 1.5 800, but like when you drop centimeters and stuff, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Slow down.
I'll stick to freedom.
Slow down a second. Yeah, you gotta use freedom units here.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that like we were doing that throughout the year. I think maybe for this final stage we should have done that. But even then, like our thought process going into this final stage, what we've done horrifically, was that like this comp that Fuel is playing right now, it may be the meta, but if we just match Fuel on that, are we going to win the league doing that? We probably need to find something else, because if we just match them, like we're gonna run into Fuel, and this is like their best comp.
You're gonna lose the mirror.
Yeah, you're gonna lose the mirror because they're all on their one tricks. They're all on like perfect comfort heroes, and it feels like it's quite difficult to surpass that. If a whole team gets to play their one trick, it was like last year, everyone mirroring Atlanta on like a Ryan matchup.
Right.
Everyone going into playoffs, like everyone is playing Ryan Sim for some reason. And it's like we knew, like on Atlanta Rain, like we knew like we were going to win those matchups versus everyone.
Yeah.
Anyone that played Ryan Sim, we were going to crush them. Because we were a better Ryan team than everyone there at the tournament. So like, it just felt silly that everyone in NA, except for Glads, settled on the mirror comp that they knew, or they should have known they were going to lose to us. So this year, we were thinking like we probably won't hard grind Winston Reaper as soon as we saw Fuel playing it, because that's their best comp. But then it didn't work out because like there was no obvious counter comp. That was truly like the only thing you could play. Whereas last year you could play Ball Dive.
Do you agree? Was that like Mayhem's, like as someone that's like been on the scrims with Mayhem a lot? Do you think that was like kind of like Gumba and Gravy's like similar strategy to that? Like were you trying to counter, or were you trying to just like be as perfect copy as possible.
I don't think it's like, what was the best comp for us? Like, we knew, so early on, since we only had 3, like, our thought process was way different, because it was like, we have 3 days. Let's figure out what, like, let's ignore the, like, the hard work that other people put in before. Like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's look at, like, the wheel that has been built and see, like, can we, you know...
Can we change a spoke?
Yeah, can we spin this wheel? Can we spin this wheel that the playoff teams have already built? Because it's like, we don't want to go backwards and try to catch up on the meta. We just like, okay.
This is a good meta for you,
yeah.
for sure.
And it was like, okay, well, it's Winston, great. We got Ham, like, we got someone, like, it's great. Reaper, Sojourn, okay, Hydra's been playing Sojourn.
Is he going to change his name, by the way, next fucking year? He can't be someone anymore. He's got to go to Ham or something.
I love this someone. I just call him Ham, so it's a fine.
Yeah, he's got to go like Ham or something.
Reaper, sort of fine. And then, like, Lucio, we got Animo, and, like, Kariko, we were just like, okay, well, we made the early decision, because, like, Ripple was our starting flexport, right, for the play-in stage. And then that whole time he was playing BAP. And while he was playing BAP, Kariko was out in ranked. And Majed had all the hours on Kariko. So it was like, okay, we had to make the tough decisions, like, okay, RuPaul, like, you know, you gotta take one for the team. Like, Majed has just grinded. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to, like, try to see, like, okay, who's gonna be a better Kariko? We're just like, okay, we gotta just, okay, pretty sure Majed's the best Kariko right now. He's rank 1 on the leaderboards. Like, let's just roll with that, and, you know, we gotta live with that. So I think that was the tough decision we had to make. But we did have a second comp. We had a hog comp that came out briefly on Junkertown, but, like, unfortunately, we had Scrim Soul on that, so they knew it was coming, and they perfectly counter-comped us because they saw it in scrims. And so it was tough. I think there were probably a few instances where, like, maybe if a team was brave enough to, like, okay, let's just hog it. Like, let's just 3-0 someone playing a hog comp. If someone did that, I think it could have been a little bit more diverse, but everyone just kind of, you know, it's like a domino effect. Like, everyone's like, okay, we're just gonna play meta, and then, like, it's really hard.
I think, like, the problem there was that, like, all the APAC teams came over, and they were barely playing this Winston Reaper comp when they came over. Like, no, every APAC team, they were picking Hog, they were picking Tracer. Like, they were all just non-believers in Reaper, and, like, to a lesser extent, non-believers in Winston. So, like, they came here, and they're playing Roadhog, and they start losing. Like,
no, Spark, we beat Spark, so we scrim Spark the most, because they're also, like, a low-seeded Plains team, and we just scrim them all the time.
Just crush them every time.
We crushed them for, like, every block. We were just smoking them.
They just suck in scrims.
We went 0-6 against us for like days, and then finally, like, one of the last blocks, they finally started taking off maps against us, and they were playing, like, so we literally they just looked at us like, okay, well, we can do that. We can play that. We can play Gusher at Winston. We can play Reaper. We can play Sojourn. So they just kind of, like, I don't want to say we taught them, because I think that's, like, disingenuous. Like, I don't want to take credit for Spark beating us, obviously, because that's kind of weird, but we really, like, we smoked them, and then they became a better team because of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had the same thing where it's like, we start scrimming these APAC teams, and they all suck. Like, we're just crushing them all. And then, like, as time goes on, they all start playing the comp, and they have players for it, you know? Right. they have Winston one-tricks, they have Reaper players, they have Surgeon players, and then, bang, like, they're good again.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like, early adopters aren't always, like, the best team towards the end, like, because the best teams can just copy, like, they see you doing something, like, okay, we can just steal that. Let's steal that. Let's do it better.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're first to the comp. It matters, like, are you good at it when it actually matters, like.
Yeah. I think that's when you can see that, like, the writing is on the wall, that it's, like, not really your meta, like, not your comp.
Yeah.
If you start, like, if you're an early adopter, and then another team sees what you're doing, picks it up, and they're better than you in, like, a day, you know?
Because it's, like, comp differential versus, like, actual, like, okay, then you're in the mirror, then it's, like, it's just a skill expression.
Yeah, it's a skill matchup, too.
Okay, so fair enough. So, and I feel like, and also this is a call out, by the way, whenever this comes out, listen, Scrimbucks, they don't fucking matter. I'm just going to say it, Scrimbucks don't matter.
The Scrimbucks exchange on this playoffs patch in particular,
disaster.
Crashed.
But also, to be fair, technically, we did lose in the predictions of the Scrimbucks this year because, like, you know, fair enough, you win this round. But either way, that's just kind of that process of learning and improving, and, like, you're screaming people. So Fuel are kind of the favorites. So why are we riding off Shock? Entirely. And, like, also, I also want to add on to that, a secondary portion. I'm off a secondary, I'm doing a secondary addition to this, because we're riding off Shock right now. We don't know the results when this is being recorded. Is this year, because this is, like, the first year, I think, Shock, like, obviously they're doing really, really good, but they haven't won now. This will be, like, their second year, right, of, like, not winning the league, per se. Is this an indictment on Cressy?
It's not just the league, it's a single tournament. Last year, I don't think they qualified for a single Hawaii tournament.
Yeah.
They did pretty average in playoffs.
Is this the end of the Crusty era, potentially? Or is the Crusty era, is it just more so, like, the league's fucking hard?
Bro, they got LeBron James.
Yeah.
They got the LeBron James of Overwatch.
If they lose with LeBron.
What if it's a Mickey Mouse? But this is a Mickey Mouse year, and LeBron wins Mickey Mouse rings, right?
No, I legitimately think like
proper wins every.
If there's a massive Sojourn differential, Shock can beat Fuel. I think as long as they have Proper, they have a chance, and they've had Proper all year. So like I think they do have a chance.
Did you see what Edison was doing in those matches though? He may not be the statistically best Sojourn, but like he is absolutely pounding. Right. Like, I think he hit a flatter deadlift on Kings Row yesterday versus was it Spark? Spark or Houston? One of the two. Yeah. I think Houston.
It was Houston because it was the first time finally that Dallas had beat Houston on LAN, and the first time forever. I literally casted the last LAN match of Battle of Texas, and they fucking got rolled.
But no, Steady Eddie has been exceptional at this LAN. Like I watched that match and I thought like that's our finals MVP right there. And then I watched the Shock match like almost immediately after, and I'm like, oh god, that guy's our finals MVP, isn't he? He's going to win Rookie of the Year, MVP, and Finals MVP if he wins the season. It's just
so there is a chance.
I think if there's one team that could actually defeat like Fuel, I think it's got to be Shock. Like it's got to be Proper, and like he can find a way.
So the Krusty Dynasty still lives.
I have faith in Violet's ability to like pick wide and die to Edison before Proper can find the pick. You know.
Yeah, Violet has gotten picked by Sojourn a lot, but like
Violet's really interesting though because he's statistically best at Lucio. You know?
Yeah.
If you ignore the death stat, he has the best stats in everything. Like most final blows, most aliens, most damage. Like Violet is a guy who knows how to get value on a hero.
Yeah.
But.
Well, would that make sense? Because you probably have to, like, obviously not to the extent that he does it, but don't you generally have to be looking for plays to get good stats on damage and limbs generally, and thus you open yourself more to dying?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be the highest damage player without dying a lot on Lucio because you have to take so much risk. You know, if you play safe and you're at the back of the map all the time, like you're just never going to get that damage. But I think like the stats can be a little misleading in the sense that it's like in Junker Queen meta, in this meta, like are you winning because your Lucio did 300 more damage, or are you losing because your Lucio died? Yeah. You know, like what's more important? And I think like getting picked is like the number one thing that's just going to lose you the game immediately, more so than doing that extra 100 damage than the other guy. But
so overall, you think so? The Violet Lucio has actually not. It's been good overall this year. Then
I mean, I think it has been good, but like stylistically, like someone like Chio, like they're better because Chio doesn't die, not like that.
Yeah, but also he still gets value too.
Yeah, Chio gets like exceptional value. You know, he's always doing his job. He might not be doing 50 billion damage as Lucio, but he's also not getting first pick.
Well, what's the difference then? And like if he's like, so is it just because he's not trying to go for as much damage, you think?
Yeah, I genuinely think it's that, you know. Vard like plays for max damage all the time. Like you can see it on every hero, you know. It's like last year he'd get picked a lot on Bat because he was playing really aggressive.
I mean, also during the Moira meta too. When like I remember it was like
I think he's really good on Moira.
Yeah, but even before, but like it wasn't last year. Was it the year before, right? When Moira was like super meta, I believe, or was it 2021 as well? And like there was a point where Moira was like insanely meta, and I feel like Violet like still got picked a lot during that time, but he's also looking for a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't really remember that far back. You know, it's a bit
fair enough.
I do remember Violet being like one of the best Moiras. I do remember that.
Yeah, I think he's like really fucking good at Moira. But just overall, like his style, like you can see it on every hero. He's always playing for max damage all the time. Maybe that's why Krusty hates Violet Anna. I'm not sure. Because, you know, he's been terminally benching that guy on Anna since forever.
Yeah, you got the Architect on.
Holy fuck. It is weird. It is weird that, like, he's so good at literally everything except for Anna.
That's not true.
But the thing is, he played it a bit and he looked good when he played it.
It's not true that he's not good at Anna. Yeah. It's just like, I think Krusty just doesn't like it.
Also, I mean, he had Twilight. And Twilight's Honor is like
that is true.
Impeccable, you know? It's an impeccable honor.
Yeah, but what about Architect? Then explain the Architect. Then explain the Architect Anna.
I don't have the explanation for that. I honestly can't.
Twilight Anna, understood.
I don't have the explanation.
Anna, like what's going on?
You'd need Krusty on the couch to answer that question.
So overall, like this is still Shock, potential second. They're the ones that dethrone it potentially, and in the Krusty Dynasty, like. We haven't exposed Krusty as the fraud that like Albert is, for example. We haven't exposed Krusty as that. Like Krusty still actually he's got it still.
Yeah, he's still got it. He's not yet a fraud.
Not yet a fraud. Maybe building up to that.
You know, I mean, if he doesn't come first in the league this year, though, I mean, that's a few years.
That's enough, right?
A few years of a big roster, fraudulent. No title. No tournament wins in 2 years.
No title, like you gotta go. Yeah. On 5 years, no title, like.
I mean, he has no titles either. Yeah. This guy's got no titles either.
No titles. No rings.
I mean, you know, no season championships. We've got a couple of like Mickey Mouse tournament wins throughout the year.
Sure, yeah.
We won mid-season in the first stage of the year, but you know, took a bit of a nosedive after that.
Fair enough. But I mean, we'll explain that with like, you know, kind of like how you want to do your tank roles and things like that. So it seems to me unanimously, Fuel is currently the favorite. At this time of recording, Fuel is the favorite, and Shock is possible.
Shock is the potential usurper.
Okay.
Yep.
Shock is the potential usurper. So then because I feel like we've been going on. I'm just gonna ask because we've been drinking this casual podcast. Our videographer's right over there. Eamon, what's our current time so we can move forward our segments?
We got about 10 minutes left.
Holy shit! Yeah. Okay, we gotta go. So then, moving forward, maybe a little bit longer than an hour, but it's a podcast. Who gives a shit? And we got plenty of drinks. Also, the game. We still have an hour. We still have like another like hour plus until the game starts.
The game starts at 5 p.m. It's like 4:10.
Yeah, I'm not even worried. Okay, so then moving forward, it's a podcast. So like that. So we've done present. Let's discuss past.
The past.
I moved around like
this is like your first of 4 segments, no?
No, 3 segments.
Great.
3 segments, and also they're gonna get less involved potentially. So you kind of touched upon it a bit with stuff that you've won actually, but I want to discuss actually because we've also talked about him a bit. You know, that Duck Dynasty motherfucker Gumba. That's what I call him. I call him the Duck Dynasty mofo.
Why is his beard?
It's the beard mostly. It's the beard mostly. So
hell of a beard.
I actually want to kind of bring this into like a discussion of both like you joining the Overwatch League and also kind of like tangentially bring in Gumba because Gumba he'll agree to do podcasts, but like he's hard to find, you know, at the same time.
I mean, he's a busy guy.
Oh, sure. He's very busy.
He's rating right now.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Yep. So let's discuss then entering the league for you, for Valiant.
Yep.
In the first year, that was 2020, correct?
Correct.
So, and was Gumba that bridge from you to escape OCE hell?
Not OCE hell. So first I was the head coach on British Hurricane for a bit, you know. Another little Australian mafioso connection managed to get me a job head coaching a team with no experience. But a few months of that, and Gumba decided that he wanted to be a Valorant coach because, you know, why would you want to stay in Overwatch? So he did that, he left. And Packing 10 was like, I need someone to replace Gumba. And Gumba was like, I have someone, like a like-for-like human, that we can just do a little switch over. So then suddenly I was an assistant coach on the LA Valiant because Gumba decided he wanted to head out. So they just got another Australian to replace him.
I see. And so it was a 1-for-1 trade, Australian for Australian.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Packing to this day,
would you describe yourself as a 1-to-1 trade for him?
Vastly superior to Gumba in some ways, vastly inferior in others, you know. There are benefits and costs to being like Gumba.
Okay, sure. I want you to give me an example of both. I want to give you one example that you're inferior, one example that you're superior.
Gumba's probably got a deeper level of strategic knowledge. But
why is that?
Because
he's just smarter than you?
Yeah, he's just significantly more intelligent than me.
Okay.
So
but there may be like
in some ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But there may be like a slight gap in like empathy, something like that.
Oh, empathy.
Yeah, just empathy. And I think this is an important soft skill to have as a coach. Empathy. Yeah.
Okay, soft skills then. Okay, so he's got maybe some hard skills, you got some soft skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know.
Okay, well I have both hard skills and soft skills.
I mean, you're just a tremendously skilled man.
I'm able to alternate.
Just a well-rounded man.
I'm able to alternate between the two. It's incredible.
Yeah, modern day Renaissance man, really.
Fair enough. Would you agree with that assessment, do you think? Or do you think that like because Gumba, because every human has strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that Gumba's inherently, like, he could be so great at his job, while obviously he still have weaknesses. So would you agree with that assessment?
I think working with Gumba, his strengths are very obvious, his weaknesses are very, like, it's just, you know what you got, you know? Like, there's no, like, mystery. And yeah, so
you knew within 5
minutes. You can walk up on the shelf, and the price tag tells you everything when you're looking at that guy.
So in some ways, Gumba's very easy to work with, because it's like, you know exactly what he brings to the table, and you know exactly what he doesn't. And I think for some other coaches, it's like, it might take you a few seasons. Like, they might, like, you know, a
few seasons, jeez.
Like a Wizard of Young type beat, or, you know, like, what do we...
You know, you know, there's, there's, for example, there's some charismatic coaches that, like, they talk real good, you know? Like, you're, like, listening to them, like, wow, like, you're a genius. But, like, actually, like, day to day, like, it's much different than, like, what they actually have told you.
It's true. Yeah, Gumba does not talk that way. Neither does this guy. Like, you know what the fuck you're about to say. And then there are some people that are quite silver-tongued. Also, we're going to test the format here as I walk away and do interview questions as we walk, because I have a lav microphone. This is for you videographers out there.
Breaking the seal.
I'm breaking the seal. I'm breaking the seal as we walk and talk, because we should be able to capture this as I'm not on camera, because I need another drink. Is this it? You get 2 beers total?
Wait, so we have a lav? No, there's more in the fridge.
Okay. Do you want anyone else want anything?
Yeah, I need something, so.
What do you want?
So you're not breaking the seal, because I was like, I thought we were gonna have another Avast pissing on the mic moment.
No, not yet. That's
Do you
special.
want that in your pilot?
That's special. Maybe not the pilot. We'll see. Do you want a butter or Corona?
Corona, sure.
Also, we're gonna cut that out in post. We're gonna cut that out in post. We can't say those brands. Can't say those brands.
Do you want like a blank or a blank?
Do you want a beer or another beer?
Am I getting you something? Want to walk up? Want up?
No, I got my backup. I came prepared, as always.
What did you say? I literally forgot what you said, Unter. What did you say?
I'll have the Corona.
Okay, perfect. I'll just take that. Okay, so good. So let's then move forward. So we know the strengths and weaknesses of coaches. We understand then the Valiant situation and why you moved on. And that, what would you...
Why I moved on?
Well, not why you moved on, but why you moved on from OC. Why you moved on from OC? Because we all know that region was dead. So then, more so then, as we take that year in review for Valiant, what led from Valiant, like what you learned from Valiant, like how did that lead to Atlanta?
Okay, exactly. So I learned from Valiant that they can tell you that you will have a job next year, and then they can also simultaneously be selling the organization to Chinese ownership that intends to fire you.
I see. I see.
So I think the biggest lesson learned from the Los Angeles Valiant year was that employment in this industry is very unstable, very unpredictable.
100%.
So yeah, you know, I had opportunities to go to other teams after Valiant. I actually had offers, and those didn't last until January when they randomly fired me because I wasn't from China. So yeah, not the best way to. What
was the time period from you learning that like I have a job with Valiant, my year is secured to actually I don't have a job from Valiant.
I think it was like September. I'm pretty sure the season ended in September. So we had months. Like I remember we ran off-season tryouts. We like built out roster for the following year. Had about a month off after that. So you know, like maybe it was October then. So like October through November, we did like building a roster.
They literally finalized the roster, and then I remember
we completely built
like,
the roster.
We're shipping them all to China, and I was like, and everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, I remember getting a message in January at like 5 in the morning, and it's like, hey, we have a talk later today. It's like, I wonder what this could be about. And we all get in Discord, and they're like, you're all fired. Yeah, we sold the org to Chinese ownership. Nothing we could have done here for you. Definitely couldn't tell you that this deal was in the works.
And what was the distance between like that January call to like the season starting type of thing? Like what was that distance?
I think the preseason started in like February or March.
Yeah.
So like the ship had well and truly sailed. There were no jobs. Like I feel like I reached out to just about everyone trying to find a job, and everyone said, well, mate, we finalized our coaching staff 5 months ago. Like you're a bit late on this one. But one guy, Sephi, you know, he gave me the time of day to at least say like, I'll send you a VOD for some reason. Like I'll just waste a bit of your time.
What do you mean by send a VOD? Were you supposed to give feedback to that VOD as like a coaching trial?
I begged him for VODs of the Atlanta Reign playing, and he was like, okay, have this one. So I watched it, and I just like wrote up some feedback, like some unsolicited feedback in his DMs, and he was like, yeah, this is kind of interesting. I'll send you another VOD. So I sent him another VOD, and I wrote more unsolicited feedback. And yeah, it kind of just like snowballed from there, you know. Lots of unsolicited feedback off a couple of VODs. I did like a one-on-one with Gator, like 5 minutes in a Discord.
With Gator?
Yeah, 5 minutes in a Discord call with Gator talking about how terrible he was at Monkey. And then bang, employment, gainful employment.
So that's the secret. You got to shit talk Gator.
Yeah.
And you get Gator. Damn, about half of the Overwatch League Twitter about looking for coaching jobs.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to find the weak link, and bang, there it was, Gator on Monkey in the preseason.
Okay, interesting. So that was that process then, is that you got rolled and smoked.
I got completely.
And would you generally agree with that as like teams at that point, like you finalize your coaching roster several months before the season starts, right?
Okay, you generally finalize your roster when everyone else is doing it. So when one team starts like actually hiring people, everyone else just jumps on like no matter it could be early, it could be late. When the first team does it, everyone's doing it. Because otherwise, like you're just screwed. Like you're gonna let that one team just get the best of the talent. Like no, you're gonna fight for whoever. So it's like it really depends. I think like last offseason, everyone moved quickly, and so like that's why we had to build a roster in like 2 weeks. So it's like similar to this. It's like just when someone starts the process, it starts for the entire league. Like everyone's on the phone, everyone's calling, everyone's interviewing the same.
It's kind of just like a duel. Everyone's sitting there with their hands on their pistols, waiting for the first person to
phone. Nobody wants to make the first move, but then once someone has, it's like
when someone draws, everyone's whipping out the guns. Everyone's going.
Okay, fair enough. So you end up on Reign after one-on-one in Gator and giving unsolicited feedback through DMs. And would you say that's like a pretty standard coaching process? We're going over. You're giving me a 5-minute warning. We're going over. I don't give a shit.
It's gonna smack the 5 minute, and then I have to switch to the next card.
Okay, fair enough. What's gonna be the? Okay, what's fine.
I'll give you the heads up on.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so let's keep on. Give me what? So is that pretty standard? Do you think for your coaching experience so far of like getting into a team?
No, I'd say this is probably like pretty unconventional.
Unconventional.
You know, usually you wind up like applying when there's an opening for a position, as opposed to just like desperately harassing some guy that you don't know over and over again. Because like Sephi would leave me on red for days. Like
not years though.
Oh,
not years.
Trust me, he didn't for years.
I've seen it.
We have to get this idea since we're in the middle of this. Like, so while we're at this event, I tweeted about it. Brad wanted to interview me for a coaching position in 2019 for the 2019 season after I left Boston in 2018, and I was talking to the players in the lounge. And I was like, oh man, like Brad, like they're like, oh, we gotta go to a coaching meeting. I was like, tell Brad I still remember 4 years ago when he ghosted me. And he responds back. 4 years later, that same DM in Discord, just saw this, and then he responds with a Pepe laugh.
Self-reacted.
I can't believe it. Can't believe it. Also, we're supposed to have him on, but like, you know, we fumbled the bag on that one. So like, it'd be like that sometimes.
He's the big fish that got away. You know?
He is the big fish. Okay, so that was a very different process generally. You're generally much more standard application.
Yeah, normally you apply, you interview, all that sort of stuff. But with this, it was more like, I was just begging some guy that I didn't know for a job, basically. Just like trying my absolute hardest to prove that there was any value that I could provide to his team. Because like Atlanta Reign had like they had a reputation of having like a weaker coaching staff. And the one guy that replied to me was from the Atlanta Rain. It's like, I've got to get in here. Like, I've got to keep working this. I've got to keep punching away at the drywall until something chips away.
And then you made it.
Kind of, you know.
You
Like,
made it, and then you stab him in the back.
oh, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
Well, I mean, but the stab in the back was the long stab, right? So like, let's go ahead. So let's then season review. You went in your first year as an assistant coach for the Reign. After that very unorthodox process, you went to the Grand Finals.
Yeah, we made it all the way.
And do you think, like, overall, that was a direct impact of, like, kind of that addition that you brought to, like, putting some more structure into the coaching staff for Atlanta Reign?
I think that's a joke. Like, to say that I added more structure, that's not true. Like, I'm not that guy, really. I think that I have like a certain perspective. God, spitting everywhere.
This is the whole. I mean, we're supposed to be kind of drunky on this. So
yeah, but
that's
repulsive though.
It's not repulsive.
Anyway, I think I have like a certain perspective on like how a team can like win or go as far as they can, and I think that like wasn't necessarily shared by the other coaches on the Reign at the time. You know, like I think that if I hadn't joined the Reign, they probably would have spent like a lot of the year trying to like improve upon their dive skills. Like, you know how I talked about how like with Gladiators we're not going to win the Mirrorverse Dallas.
You played your strengths.
Yeah. Like I really, really wanted the Reign to play to their strengths.
Yeah.
And I think that like Seffi's vision, it's more like this is the best comp. We need to learn this. And I'm not a huge believer in that, to be honest. I think like if there's a clear best comp, then either you need to try and counter that comp with your strengths, or you play it if it fits your strengths.
Okay.
But I think if I hadn't joined the Reign, then like they probably would have played playoffs, and they would have been on Balls Den. Like they would have been playing Balls Den Ash, and I think that just wasn't the move for a team that had certain players.
So still, like, at least pushing back against some of those ideas, you feel like that was kind of the reason for like Reign focused more on that sim Rhine rush. You know, that got you to that grand final.
Yeah, and then even in the previous tournaments, you know, like there was like a Winston Rush meta. We were trying to play like Batbrig Torb, you know, like we were trying to play like Orisa. We were trying to play Orisa and Ryan at every possible opportunity, Bap at every possible opportunity. Like just playing to people's strengths as much as possible, you know? Because like Iris, insane at Bap, Gator, insane at Orisa and Ryan.
Yeah.
Really just trying to pick around that.
Okay.
If Hawk can play Diva as well, like that's a huge buff. So, I don't know, I feel like from early on I had like a decent read on like what our players were good at. And from there we just tried to like keep picking comps that made that work. Whereas everyone else was trying to conform to the meta. Like all of NA was playing Ryan Sim into Atlanta. All of NA like trying to play ball dive when they sucked at it. So yeah.
And that's kind of something that you feel like you've echoed from what you've seen from all the years, Albert, of like running Mayhem. Is that like, do you think that like it's better for teams at this point, like after several years, because we've had this debate for a long time. At this point, stylistically, it's almost always better to just like play your own strengths versus like trying to like mirror the best, like the quote unquote best current meta comp.
I think that's what it comes down to, and then it just depends on if some teams can find those answers, like what is optimal for them. Some teams can't. Some teams run out of time, right? Like you run out of time to try things, and you run out of time to, like, oh, this might be good, and then you know, it slips through the cracks. You're trying to play meta. You thought the meta was good for you, and then but something else might have been better.
Yep.
You just run out of time, and it's just like how do you allocate those resources? How do you allocate the time? But I do think in terms of like what comps you can play, most of that work is done in the off season.
Yeah.
Like you can only play like what you have. You know, like you have a menu of like players. You have like okay, they have these heroes, and then by when the season starts, like that's it. You know, like you gotta work towards those strengths or you know develop some new ones.
Yeah.
And I think it's much harder to develop new ones than to just okay, he's always been a good Rhine for Gator. Like he's always been a good Orisa. Like let's focus on that, right?
Yeah. It's like we played ball once in our whole playoffs run
Yeah.
last year, and it was versus Fearless on ball,
Yeah.
who was like a famously terrible ball.
Right.
So you know, it's a free win, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's why the league's gotten better over time. I think more teams play towards their strength. I say that as Atlanta tried to mirror us in Winston. Like that was never going to work.
Yeah.
Like,
but this meta has felt like particularly oppressive in
Yes.
the sense that like because short amount of time to experiment and potentially just like not a lot of heroes that are super strong other than Winston, Kiriko, Reaper right now. Like it felt very difficult for anyone to break this meta. Like I said, Glads, like we spent the past like 2 to 3 weeks trying to find something that wasn't Winston Reaper.
I mean, what else can
And
jump? What other tank can jump a Sojourn?
It just does too much, you know.
It's like Diva, right? But it's like you can't really play Diva.
We would play Doom,
Yeah.
and we would win the first fight, and then we would lose every ult
Right.
fight because the Sojourn's free. The Kiriko ult is so good with Winston.
Yeah.
Like there's just too much going on to make it impossible for the Doom team.
Okay, fair enough. So then, looking forward, so you have that year with the Reign. Things goes well. You kind of like realign. You're like a chiropractor. You're like a meta chiropractor. You realign.
I'm a quack.
You're a quack.
Yeah.
You are a quack, but it kind of works this time.
Yeah.
I was discussing.
So I showed up with my pseudoscience and we got second.
Say what you want about chiropractors. You do feel damn good at the end.
Yeah, but there's a reason you keep coming back, and there's a reason also a couple people will be paralyzed when they go to chiropractor. So there's a reason for that. But it's okay if that works out for you. You get to grand finals. I mean, honestly, overall, great year. Then we look forward, and now we continue to go to the current like present time, right? We've done the, or I should say past. We move forward to kind of the past because now this time we passed
Present season,
I guess. So season ends. You had a great year with Reign overall considered. If you get second, right? That's a great year.
Yep.
Why then go from Reign to Atlanta?
To Gladiators.
Or to Gladiators, I should say. Why go from Reign to Gladiators? And like, what is there like a particular reason for that? Is it? And this is also, once again, another of those reasons. You don't have to answer the question. You just drink instead. Is it compensation related? Is it like more of a structure related? See, there we go. So we're having a drink. So then, I guess as we move on from that point, as we all take our drinks respectively, how was that? What was that process went from Reign to Glads? Did someone reach out to you to like because like Face became head coach? And also, what the fuck happened with D-Pay? What happened with David Pay?
I mean, what happened to D-Pay?
He complained he didn't get enough resources, and then he built the roster of his dreams, and then left.
Yeah, no, I can't really comment.
Can't comment on that one?
No, not like a drink.
You drink comment. You just
like,
simply don't know.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't
there.
there for it, you know. I got the message one day from my Australian friend who helped me get my first job on Hurricane, saying, "Hey, assistant coach spot just opened up on our team because I'm the new head coach. Would you like to be that guy?" And it was like, "Oh, yeah, right, sure. Seems fun. Wouldn't mind working with Kevster. Looks like a pretty good roster you got there."
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of jumped on the bandwagon.
Okay.
The thing is, I had a strange way out with Atlanta, where it was like I'd pretty much like agreed with the team that I was going to be staying. I think my only other like off-season opportunity was with this guy, and you know he basically had.
And you didn't take it?
You turned me down.
You didn't take it?
He had the picture of a lifetime. He was like, "Yep, we're." He's like, "Yeah, we're going to spend like medium tier at most money, and the goal is to be mid. And like you know, if you're happy with mid, then join us."
Well, I didn't say that.
Sure, but you know,
he's summarizing.
And yet we're here in the off season and we're in the same spot.
And
here we are.
Yeah,
here we are.
But
here we are.
How many
Look
tournaments
at
did you
us.
win at the start of the year? Do tell. Like you know, did
We
you
made all the tournaments though. We made all the tournaments.
Okay, so what's more important, qualifying
We
for
made
all
more
the
tournaments
tournaments
than you did.
or winning 2 out of 3? Like,
I think it's the end.
okay.
It depends. I mean, honestly, that's a philosophical question.
It's the 5-day patch. That's what's actually important.
It's the Mickey Mouse man at the end of the season.
It's a philosophical question. You know, what matters more in this case? It's a philosophical question.
Okay.
I promise you, I'm happier on Glads than I would have been with.
Yeah.
That's very wrong. You could have hung out with me.
No, that's like that truly detracting from the experience. I
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. So that was like, so you would kind of agree, and you moved on to there because that opening that happened suddenly, and you moved to Glads.
Yep.
And then that was a little bit more transition process. And then, so let's say working with Glads this year and working with Face, was that a drastically different experience than working with Atlanta?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And what would you highlight as those reasons?
I think Gladiators is just a lot more structured, you know? Every day is the same with Gladiators, you know? You've always got your coach meeting, everyone shows up with their clips, like it all happens in about the same way. Whereas Atlanta, it was kind of more like, you know, I'll just show up with a map that I want to talk about or a couple of maps, and then the scrims will end, and I'll just like sit down with a player and just chat shit for half an hour. People will start like crowding around my desk, and we'll all start like bullying this one guy for his performance on a particular map. Like
sounds about right. So far in all of our experience with the bars with the Atlanta players, that sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think providing feedback in that way, like it's super constructive. It sounds ridiculous, but you know, you're dealing with a bunch of like young adults, and like however you get through to them, like as long as they listen, that's all that matters at the end of the day. And having like random roast sessions where you'll just like pull up someone's VOD on the computer and people start crowding around and giving their input, like that is constructive at the end of the day. If someone is watching their VOD and thinking critically about the gameplay, and someone, me or another player, or the player in question, is coming up with a solution, like that's all that matters, really. It's just people watching and thinking about what's happening and providing a solution.
I think calling them young adults gives them a lot of credit.
Okay, little man children.
A lot of credit.
Yeah, little man children.
Is there a difference? Do you feel like there's a maturity difference between the roster you went to, or is it more just a structure difference?
I think the coaching staff is a lot more like mature in terms of their structure.
Okay, and is that because, do you think of like Face and also of like Smash, right? Yeah. Do you think it's because of them?
For sure.
Or is like it more attributed to one?
It's both of them, for sure.
Okay.
You know, like Face set the expectations, and then Smash has like a traditionally Korean style that we just definitely didn't have at all on Atlanta. Because we were all Western coaches back there.
What is the difference between a Korean style and a Western style?
I guess more detail orientated, like longer reviews, lots and lots of scenes, as opposed to like a generalization. More emphasis on positioning rather than like I guess skill usage and stuff like that. I think the Korean style, someone summed it up to me last night, where it was like Westerners think like, how can I get a kill here? Whereas Eastern players and Eastern coaches, they think like, what space can I control, and then the kill will come eventually. So thinking a lot more like positionally about the map and like what area of the map you want to control, and then naturally you will win.
This makes me want to make a StarCraft joke. but I don't think it's relevant. But it makes me want to make a StarCraft show.
Go ahead. There's no such thing.
I mean, the thing is, it made me think about making it. I don't actually have it formulated.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
simply stream of consciousness right now.
Well, thank you for the contribution.
Yeah, I know. That's my goal here on this podcast, is to contribute. Okay, so very different structure with both Face and Smash contributing to that. And would you think also with you, because like Mayhem has been historically pretty mixed, except last year. Last year wasn't too mixed. Do you agree with that assessment with coaches, Albert? Like from like seeing rosters operate under like your space, you kind of agree with that?
With what?
With like
aspect?
Korean coaches are like much more systematic, like very detail oriented, while Western coaches are a lot more like, we're big picture here, you know? We're idea guys.
No, I think it's just a way of thinking. I think Koreans start with like the small things and then they work their way to like big picture. Whereas like I think Westerners want to start like big picture first.
And work in.
Yeah, and work in, and like maybe not even get too deep. Like okay, like don't ignore like the minutia of like this one play that I threw. Like oh, I just threw. Like ignore that. Whereas Koreans are like okay, we want to break down like why did you throw? Like what was the thinking behind you throwing, and like how can we make sure you don't throw in that way again? And whereas like Westerners are like okay, just give me the big picture. Like everyone's gonna make mistakes, and like we just at least we have just start big picture and down. Whereas I think Koreans they see a detail, they see like one fight that they can't figure out in their head how they lost, and they really want to go into the weeds on it. That's been my experience.
Yeah, even talking with Jake, it pains me to admit, but I see eye to eye with Jake, where he was saying that like if a review is longer than like 15-20 minutes, like already you're probably doing something wrong. Because just from my experience, you know, like if you're trying to listen to someone talk for an hour straight and they're just bombarding you with
Jake would know about that.
Well, no, it's what like you
with junk bug. You're not gonna take that in. You're not gonna remember.
What's the percentage of retention? I forgot the percentage. I used to know.
I don't fucking know.
Similarly unfamiliar.
I haven't retained it.
Which is why I don't understand why podcasts exist, because like you're certainly not retaining more than.
No, I'm saying Jake Wood has nothing to do with his current experience, because like back on our days in LG Evil, Jake we were like let's run auto reviews, and I had like Super and like Train and Bowl and shit, and Robert 420, and
Robert
like
420,
and then Jake would be trying to run Robert Dabbington, and Jake would try to run a VOD review with me, and I'm like we would try to be holding it, but like we go for like we'd hit like our 2.5 hour mark, you know, of Jake just like
you're gone.
Like at that point it's Train's been playing Maple Story for like 45 minutes.
But I think trying to explain diminishing returns to Koreans, like I don't think they understand that. They're just like okay, well. Diminishing returns, you're still getting some return.
Yeah, but we must fix this.
Yeah, it's like you're still getting some return, so like it's still better to do 3 hours than and it's like, so that's kind of like a never-ending. Like,
people don't even acknowledge like the impact that has. You know?
Yeah.
Even if you're getting more of a return on someone's like gameplay understanding, you think that's not contributing to like how much they tilt in the following day and how happy they are with their lives. You know, I think the players actually being happy is important. Shockingly,
that is important. Yeah, it is a very important aspect. Okay. And do you think as you've moved in, as we kind of close our Gladiators chapter, right? We've talked about like you're joining, like kind of that structure involved.
Yep.
And as you look forward for Gladiators, do you feel like that structure was kind of the difference maker for you guys this year? Like like even regardless of like your input to that roster, like structure overall allowed you to kind of get to the point, like even if you doesn't really win it all, right? You won two stages, and like that structure is what was key to getting to the point where this roster was at.
100%.
100%.
I think like Gladiators, like the start of every meta, we were shit. Like every single meta, we were shit. And then there was like a very consistent trend of improvement across like basically every meta. Junker Queen, it was too late, you know? By the time we had improved, we'd already gone 0-4 because we had 2 double week matches at the start of the stage. But I feel like every meta we've played so far, we've reached a point where there's some sort of realization, and then there's a significant trend of improvement. Okay. And I think like if you don't have some sort of structure, that will never occur. People will just keep pointing fingers and nothing will go anywhere. Like, I think you can see that with Atlanta Reign, where it's like Atlanta Reign this year, they started a lot of metas strong, but they never finished strong. Because people always outpaced them. They just stopped improving because they barely review.
Fair enough. Would you like to have stayed with Reign this year, like if it was possible, or do you feel like Glads was overall the better pick for you long?
I mean, obviously I'm happy having joined. Glads.
Exactly, but it's more so like...
We finished above Reign in every
It's just more so like when you think about like those two teams as like two aggregates, right, of like personalities.
I mean, socially, I love the guys at the Reign. You know? Like they're the first team that I've felt like a really strong bond with. Where it's like, you know, now hanging out at the event, like obviously I hang out with my teammates on Glads, but I hang out with my teammates on Reign too. Like they will forever be teammates because I have like really strong connections with those guys. But I would never join Reign over Glads like this year. You know, this was the year to clearly join Glads.
Okay. Also, very good answer. Secondly, Albert, is Albert's mic still on while he's pissing?
I have the mic. He doesn't have a mic.
Oh, that's right. Excellent. Good work from us. Good work from us. That's keep that in. Keep that in.
Well done.
All right. Now, I was making sure you didn't have. I forgot you didn't have a lab on because I thought we were just gonna capture all the.
Don't worry.
That's for me. That's for me. That's for me. That's for Riot to tune. That's for Riot Global Operations to tune into and listen to. Okay. Excellent then. So we've heard that. Then now we've covered present. We've covered past.
There's future then, isn't there?
Future.
Yep.
Future is our closing segment here. It's closing segments.
Yep.
So we're looking forward. The year is coming to. We don't know who's gonna win, but like the year is done.
Dallas.
Let's we have Dallas as Predator. Let's look forward, and we'll start kind of like we'll start with you again. Then we'll go to Albert with this. But like let's go overall general view. Like the viewership has been actually really good on YouTube, mind you.
In the last
week. In the last week.
New game drops.
New game drops. Is that a positive indicator? Should we
free game?
Also free game. Should we be excited for the future of Overwatch 2, like with the change to like a 5v5, with the change to like how they're moving this battle pass system? Should we be like, oh yeah, like I love this game, or should we be like I should be looking to join Apex? You know, I should be going to Apex.
I mean, I think this is like the most optimistic period we've been in for like many years with Overwatch, just because people are playing the fucking game. You know, we're not 8.8 thousand viewers on Twitch right now because new game, free. Like people are actually playing Overwatch, so there's optimism there, but I still think that the league is not in a particularly good place, to be honest.
Even with the current like viewership that it's kind of getting in like that
viewership being high is great, but you know, when the only sponsor that the league has for the year is like a poorly masked Butterfinger logo slowly being tracked along the wall of King's Road.
Hey, Butterfinger's kind of a fire candy though.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, but okay, my theory, they had the AR thing, they added it in after they saw the viewers. I feel like they were just like, yes, we want that. Because clearly that was something like not planned. Like I've never seen them do that.
I thought they could just do a banner ad, to be honest, at the bottom.
Or they can just actually put it on the map. I don't know.
Team 4 is far too busy for that.
That's true. Different Team 4
Team 4 are putting on blindfolds, getting drunk, spinning around in a corner, and throwing a dart at a board to figure out what hero to buff next. Like, it's...
I see. Okay, so, like, you're kind of saying it's, like, we're choppy waters. I think up or down, potentially.
I mean, hopefully up, you know. There's optimism, right?
There's optimism.
People are playing the game, and people are watching the game.
Yeah.
So that's much better than what we've had for the past 2-3 years, honestly. I feel like ever since I joined the league, it's just been a hard downhill.
This is the most hope we've had in a while.
So you would say from an organizational perspective right now, this is things are looking potentially the best they've ever looked. Recently.
That's more for him than me.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the question is like, will this last? Like, is 250K is 200K like the new? Is that like the new mark? Is that sustainable? Like, I don't know. I think those are the questions like teams, like organizations, will be discussing.
Is this just the first month buff?
Right. Like, are they going to be doing drops every time? When there's no drops, like, what does the viewership turn into? Like, who knows? When we're not on YouTube, I mean, I don't know. Are we on YouTube next year? That's another question. Like,
how many years until
do we have
Champions Collection?
Do we have an exclusive stream deal next year? Like, I think these are questions that like need to be answered, and we need to figure out like before teams decide on like their budget, or like, I mean, well, actually that's not true. We got to decide on our budget.
Because how are they going to decide that? Because like budget is like
okay, so we got a week. So actually we got a week to +1 people. So we got to figure out budgets in a week.
You have to +1 people before you actually
know
are the +1s they all have to be decided this next week?
Yes.
Yep.
For everyone,
yes,
really.
Everyone.
What's the current give me an exact date so people can have the reference here.
A week from literally today.
Today is
because today is the official end of season.
Yeah, but today is the 4th, right? So November 4th. Okay, we have to decide our +1s in a week.
November 11th. Yeah.
November 11th. So that's gonna be interesting. Okay, fair enough. So there's optimism there. There's optimism there, and then as we look forward, then as we've acknowledged there's optimism. Who knows where we're gonna go? Do you think personally after this year, like this is not like you are saying like what's going to happen type of thing, but more so like as you look forward, would you like to continue to explore like, yourself? Like do you want to like potentially keep hopping around, or do you feel like Glads is the team for you?
I mean, I'm really happy on Glads for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to like talk.
Not trying
to talk myself out of it.
Sure.
Out of any job opportunities here for sure. But I mean, Glads has been a really good team to me for sure.
Yeah.
I think. Honestly, all the teams except for Valiant that I've been on, like they've all been great to me. Hurricane, like Spitfire by extension, like they were great. Atlanta was great. Glads have been great. You know, no team that I've been on have I immediately been like, God, I just want to leave here so badly. But you know, like if you get like a head coaching opportunity for some more billion-dollar roster, like it's hard to say no to that. Of course.
Fair enough. I mean, well, we saw Alex, the CEO of the Guard / like KSA Esports, you know, like in the lobby last night.
Mr. Morebillion.
Mr. Morebillion, yeah, he was talking up a storm over there. I was having to get people away from him and everything.
He's good for a chat.
He's a very funny. I mean, your organization, I think, is a very interesting group, and so then, and Albert, you would echo that. We're like, still optimism, and potentially growth moving forward. Potentially growth.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most excited I've been for Overwatch in a while, and I love Overwatch. And PvE, I think it comes out next year. Hopefully,
PvE is supposed to come out 2023. I'm going to be completing Kings Row first, Mythic.
I think
with Flame. And
with Flame.
Yeah, with Flame. Yeah.
I think the future of the game is highly dependent on how good that is. Like, I really think PvE is like an important part. And so we'll see how they what have they been doing the last 5 years? Like, have they figured it out? Have they figured a formula out?
That talent tree is going to suck people in for sure.
And what initiatives do you think the league itself, from a competitive perspective? Because I've talked to like producers and like honestly, the general consensus is like it doesn't really matter what the league does too much because the game is honestly 90% of like the league's health, right? Mm-hmm. But like, what could the league specifically be doing? What do you think to increase viewership or just like the quality of the product / like getting people excited?
Having more than one like real LAN event per year would be cool. You know, like where APAC and NA unite, that would be cool. Having like incentivized drops and stuff for like every tournament, that would be good. Having like a Valorant style champion skin bundle at the end of the year where you can buy stuff, that money goes through to the teams. Yeah. Like all these things would be good for the ecosystem. Like I'm pretty sure Valorant made like so many millions of dollars for that champions bundle, and I don't really know what the obstacle is for Overwatch. Like what's stopping them from?
I mean, doesn't it technically already do that? But just the system is instead of going to the prize pool, it just technically contributes to the Overwatch League overall budget.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Like, if you buy an Overwatch League skin, it's showing support of the Overwatch League, and thus Team 4 is like, oh, we should continue to support the Overwatch League.
Yeah, but they should do something unique for each finals.
In addition, but that doesn't actually even go to the prize pool, though.
Sure.
But I'm saying, like, some way of directly... Because I think it's hard for the consumer to be like, oh, so the trickle-down is like, technically we're supporting Overwatch, and then it trickles down to my team. But, like, it's like, okay, you buy this bundle, you are supporting the prize pool. You're directly supporting your team.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Dota does, like, the compendium or whatever for the TI. Like, Valorant has done this, like, champions bundle. Overwatch... They have some shitty skins that don't even trickle back to the teams.
I think why reinvent? As I said, like why are we reinventing the wheel? Like the wheel is there. Like we can see the wheel. We can just copy.
Just spin it.
We can just 3D print the wheel. You know, like we have the technology now. Like simply we can have our own companion. We can have a champions bundle, whatever you want to call it. Like we're free to play already. Like that's a big move in the right direction. I think add the other things that makes free to play games like so great or so appealing to esports fans. That's
okay. Fair enough. And then I think honestly we're like, what's our time limit at? Leave me a count here, Eamon.
We got 10 minutes left on the second card.
10 minutes left on the second card, but what's our total time as well?
Oh, like total?
Yeah, total time.
Like an hour.
Hour and a half?
40.
Yeah, we're like an hour 40 in.
I mean, that's pretty good. Honestly, we finished off quite a good amount. I think like we covered a lot of different topics. Got a lot of different topics. So we're gonna thank Unter. And also Albert, who's potentially going to be the co-host, but we haven't really figured out the format yet.
It's in the
how it's going to work. We don't really know how it's going to work
Working
yet.
Title, everything. Yeah.
Working title, we wear a lot of hats. It's the We Wear a Lot of Hats podcast. And I think overall, we've been blessed with Unter to join us here with your beautiful mullet.
That's genuinely how I feel when people have me in the room. I bless them.
You do bless them.
But you're going to get rid of the mullet in the off-season, right?
Are you?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no, I asked him about the mullet.
Really?
He only rocks the mullet when he's in season.
Yeah, like I try.
Really?
I mean, because I feel like this makes me look like really unintelligent and annoying. Like
unintelligent. Young Gravy wears that haircut.
Yeah.
Young Gravy, one of the most intelligent rappers of our generation.
Rapper of a generation. Yeah. But again, like, this is great. Like, someone, like, they lose to me and they look at me and they're like, wow, I just lost to that fucking moron.
So what do you go back to? What's, like, the post?
I shave my face and cut my hair, just...
Like, you should buzz it?
He goes professional in the off-season.
Well, I don't know about...
What, I don't
know about buzz it, but, like, all this has got to go, right? Like, this is unacceptable.
Okay, fair enough.
This is not okay.
You can give it to me. We can graft it.
Yeah?
Yeah, you kind of graft your hair.
You can get that done in Turkey too if you'd like. They do transplants.
I haven't gone to Turkey. I didn't get a chance to go to Turkey.
I've seen pictures of those.
Have you?
Where they're on a flight to Turkey
like
and all
everyone has their bald heads.
Yeah.
Okay, well, be on the lookout for hair transplants, but that's been the current We Wear a Lot of Hats podcast, episode 1 with Unter.
No, that's not the actual title.
Okay, we don't know the episode title.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the title is yet. Either way, that's the end of episode 1. Thank you, Unter. And we're done. Cut it.